Okay.
think.
Do you feel that it'll give you a spark in class? All right, that was terrible. I'm sorry. That was really bad. All right. Okay.
I like your haircut.
Oh, thank you. So, all right. So I gave you guys, I sent you guys the only report I did not send you guys last night was the class report, the mini class report. Okay. That again, that is the only one that I did not send you. Now there's going to be a change up in the test. Okay. I'm going to give you 5 multiple choice questions and 1 free response. Okay. Thanos, what are you doing?
Nothing.
I just felt like if I did 1, it wasn't enough. And 2 of my questions are too much. So I needed to find a good medium. So you got 5 multiple choice and 1 free response. Now, in terms of what I will be covering, as you guys know, it's a language, so everything is fair game. But the things that I will be focusing on, okay? Now, class creation, okay? Global variables as opposed to local variables. Constructors, the process of overloading, okay? Setters, getters, toStrings, arrays, initialization of arrays, cycling through arrays, the enhanced for loop, okay, or the for each loop in terms of verification of arrays, okay? Those are the things that we are going to be covering, all right? That being said, I'm going to open up my Eclipse. This is a review day. Now, as you guys know, review days, usually you guys don't really take that long with review days, but in regards to review, I have my Eclipse open and I will answer any question is fair game. Let me just delete this. Okay. All right. So any question again is fair game. So I have an empty superclass and I have an empty tester class. Let me set it up so you guys can see both. That's what I wanted. Okay. All right. Questions, anyone? Anyone?
Are we able to go over something with array and getter or setter method, or getter or setter?
What in particular?
Like what we did for homework like a couple nights ago or whatever?
What do you mean? Like, I need a more specific question.
I think he's asking for like an example.
Yeah.
Like in terms of, but I need like an example of what though? Like the question's big.
I don't know exactly.
Like I went over the last week's homework or last couple nights homework. So I what do you mean, Will?
Something similar to last night's homework, just because I didn't fully get it.
I can go over last week's homework again, last night's homework again if I need to. So let me pull it up. Assignments. God, it does this not so stupid. Okay. All right, hold on. Okay. All right, so actually this is, okay, so this is basically what it was. So what I did, this was basically the homework assignment. So again, what we did is we initialized an array, okay? That's where, so the array of objects, the key thing you have to understand is an array can be of anything. It can be of any type of object. All right, let me save this. There we go. Now there's no. It can be anything. It can be now a string. You can make an array of string. Is string a variable?
Yes.
No, it's not. It's an object.
Oh, it's an option.
Okay, it's an object. How do I know it's an object? It's got methods. It's capitalized, more importantly. Okay, so this array is 10 quiz objects. I've initialized them because your quiz or your homework asked you to initialize these with a random number between up to 100. I didn't care the specifics. If you just had a random number, I didn't care if you even did 10. The key thing that I was looking for is, did you use the constructor in the proper way? Okay. Now then the homework was worth, there were 2 ways you could have done the homework. Again, my wording was vague. So what I meant was every other index. Some of you meant, oh, just the even index numbers. I give you credit for either or, okay? And I'm still not, I've started grading C blocks first. So I haven't gotten to your guys's yet, okay? So for quiz AX, so basically this is A. So A right here, you have to assume that A is now, this is X. So if I wanted to know what the first object's name was, it's actually X index 0. And basically A will represent A index 0. I have 10, so all the way to X index 9. Okay, that's the downside of a for loop, is that it has to start from the beginning all the way to the end. So A is another way of saying X index 0. Then, if, for example, if I wanted to access the dot get ID in X index 0, I would say X index 0 dot. I use a dot operator. There's my get ID right there. Okay, because it's everything in the array is an object. What A is, A just basically overrides this name and represents the first element. Okay, that's what the for each loop is doing. Now, it's not only or technically it's in the for each loop, but like, for example, if I wanted to print out everything, I would just say X index J here, dot, and then I would still have access to anything. Okay. So that's, in terms of A, this is just a dummy variable that just basically is a new name for all the indexes. So you don't have to put the brackets and the number of each index every single time. And then you just call on the methods as usual. Gary.
So other question, like, could you go over what static is? And secondly, so an overloaded method has the same name. It can have any like return type and any parameters, right? Okay.
So static, 1, you don't need to know what it was. It's given to you. I will go over static in a month or so. You don't need to know it. It was given to you. It was in the actual signature. So if they say most of the time, if I give you an AP problem that says, give a static method, static will already be in the signature. It's a signature. It's a signature declaration, kind of like public static void. You guys know what public means? You know what void means now. The only one you don't know is this. Hang tight, all right? Just know that it's almost always going to be given to you. You don't have to do anything in terms of that, okay? Okay? Gary? Okay, good. Dylan, question.
I was just like thumbs upping.
Oh, cool. Okay,
Can you go over overloaded methods?
sure. So, let's just say something stupid right now, Thanos. Let's just say right now we print out the ID times 3. Okay, so we just have a stupid method like that, and then we'll have another one that prints it out times 4, something like that. Okay, so public int mult ID. Okay, and this is going to return ID times 3. Okay. Now, I'm going to take the same method. So again, now are there any parameters? Okay, no, there's not. There's no parameters. So basically, if you were to call on this here, okay, so for example, if I were to just say a dot mult ID, okay, I run this, I'm getting some big numbers because basically it's taking the identification number that you had, multiplying it by 3, and it's spitting it back. And then we're printing that value. Let's say I had one that did it times 4. Okay. Now, in this case, or multiplied by a user specified number. Okay. So this one just multiplies it by default by 3, but this one will actually take in user num. Okay. Notice that the error went away. Okay. This is an example of an overloaded method. Okay. Now, multi-ID. So for example, multi-D and multi-D, they're both the same name. Overloaded means same name, different parameters. Now, again, remember that parameters basically the rules for how this method can be used, Thanos. This method is saying, okay, I need to have something passed to me in order to use it. This one says, I don't really need to. Okay, where I might go after you is you're going to see something like this, okay? This is where people get confused, Thanos. These are the return types. You know that overloading is same name, different parameters. Do I ever say anything about the return types?
No.
No. So a lot of people will get confused thinking, oh, this is an overloaded method because of the different return types. The return types have nothing to do with the overloading. All that matters is this, okay? So now if I said, let's say 4, what type of number is this going to spit back, Lance?
An int.
Nope. Thank you for paying attention.
Uh-oh. Double.
I'm calling on the overloaded method. So Gary, what is this going to spit back?
A double.
A double. So it's going to have a decimal there. Boom. Is it still legal? This ID is an int. Can an int fit into a double? Absolutely. So does that make sense, Dan?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. Any confusion, or are you good?
No, it makes sense.
That's actually a good question. It's because even overloaded, I haven't really covered overloaded a lot. So for you guys, this is kind of like a good refresher, especially if you're going to watch this video again. Okay, anyone else? We have all the time in the world. Gary, what's up?
Could you just like repeat like what the this function is, and also like when we would use it?
So this basically, let's go up to the constructor. Okay, Gary? So let me show you right here. So this in the constructor right here, hold on. So do you see how this variable right here, this dummy variable in the constructor is the same name as this one right here, as the global variable? So this one would theoretically be considered the local variable. This one's the global variable, okay? If in the constructor or in any method, including the toString, although the toString doesn't ever have parameters, okay? If the past variable matches the same name as the global variable, you'll want to use this. This is basically another way of saying I'm referring to the global. This is basically saying the global variable of this. Now, like for example, Alex, I think it was Alex By, when he was doing his last quiz, he uses this for every single variable. Am I right, Alex? So,
Yeah.
So that's a user preference, Gary. I know a lot of professional programmers that you can use this whenever you want. Okay, so for example, right here, the set name. The only time you wouldn't really need to use it is, let's say this is different. And then I can say, I can do this. Okay.
Oh, I see now.
Okay. So that's the only time you wouldn't have to use it, but this. Also, guys, a couple of you guys, I saw this. Okay. I want you to be very careful. Okay. Be very careful. I didn't penalize you, but I can. All right. Some of you did this for your setter. Okay. In your quiz. All right. Some of you did this and then you return name. Don't do that. Return this dot name. Don't take any chances. Okay. All right. So that being said, that is what this is. And what's the other question that you had?
Oh, yeah, that like I was just asking when you would you use it, and you just answered
Oh.
that.
So Gary, if you wanted to use it anytime, that's fine. I do it a lot. So it's literally user preference. Alex used it everywhere. It's fine. If anything, for me as a teacher, I know more what he's talking about. So if he did actually make an error and be like, okay, you're local or you're global, you got messed up and stuff like that. But if you're using this and stuff like that, you've got some experience as a programmer. Now, Alex, in his case, he just got lucky. But for other people, they're usually experienced. All right, anybody else? Any questions, guys? Seriously. Remember, questions doesn't mean it's not a bad thing. Don't be shy. I'm gonna roast you either way.
No, I don't want to ask a question.
What's your question, Uma?
Could you just give like an example of when you would need to use like a dummy variable or like a enhanced for loop?
Okay. If I'm ever just telling you to initialize an array, okay, so listen to this carefully. If I'm telling you, and listen to the words, if I'm just telling you to go through, make sure that you initialize the array with default values or something like that, you're okay just using a regular for loop. You will, now, if you guys saw that as in the quiz, it was quick to just use an enhanced for loop, okay? It was really quick, right? Would you say so? Now with for loops, most of the time, whenever we need to cycle through and print something out, so put it this way, here's the best thing. Here's a good rule of thumb. If the array already pre-exists, use an enhanced for loop. Is that good enough? If the array already exists, use an enhanced for loop. Anytime you have to initialize, you can do this. If I even tell you print out, then print out the variables, it would be stupid for you to do this and then do another enhanced for loop to go through it and print out everything, okay? Unless they will ask you to do that sometimes, but that's just more testing your knowledge, okay? So if you're ever initializing, always do this, but good rule of thumb, if it's just a pre-existing array or an array that's been passed to a method and you're dealing with that, use an enhanced for loop. Is that better? Does that explain it? So pre-existing, enhanced, new that you need to initialize, standard for loop. And remember also, you don't ever use a while loop to initialize a array.
Could you though?
Huh? I don't even want to, I'm not even going to answer that question. Nobody does it. Don't do it. So just right off the bat, I don't even want coulds, should, is it, I'm not even going to answer those. Don't do it. It's recorded now. I'm telling you, don't do it. Nobody does it in the professional world. It is never done. It's idiotic. So don't do it. Okay, next. Anyone? Logan, come on. I know you got a question. Because remember, guys, take advantage now. There's no review session tonight.
Can we go over global versus local variables?
Okay, that we just did, but so so this would be an example of a local variable. Okay. So let's take the set name and let's just take it a step further. String new name equals name. This dot name equals new. Okay. So this is the most horrible thing that you can do. Okay. This is a local variable. This is a local variable. Any variable that is declared within a function and not at what we call the root level here is considered a local variable. Anything within a set of brackets or in a set of parameters would be considered a local variable. It does not exist outside of this scope. Okay, so this right here, this string new name, nobody else knows what that new name is. No one. Okay. None of these methods have any idea. The only method that every one of these knows in common is ID and name up here, okay? Because they're global. Also, guys, those of you who got your quiz grades back and you saw the 0.5s, the 0.5s were for private. I didn't feel, it was nice. I was going to take off a full point, but I felt that was too much. So I only took off a 0.5. So if you got like an 8.5 or something like that, it's more than likely, if you don't have your report back, it's because you did private. Okay, or you forgot your private. So that's basically the difference. You would never see somebody take the name, then put it in another brand new string, and then assign that string to the global. Okay, but this would be also considered a local variable. This would be considered a local variable. So anything declared, Lance, and that's the key thing, declared within a set of parameters or inside of a method is considered a local. Anything declared outside is a global. Other thing, guys, don't ever initialize. You can, but not in this class. Don't ever initialize any of your global variables. Why?
Because it might change.
Nope. What's the purpose of the constructor?
To get a value for the global.
To initialize global variables. That is the purpose of the constructor. So why do it out there? Okay. Ooh, I'm dropping dimes today, guys. I'm giving you some good tidbits.
Should we use private for anything but the global variables?
Who asked that?
Logan.
Logan, for right now, no. And for majority of this class, probably we won't even get to private methods. For right now, no. For right now, just apply private to the global variables. Does every class need a setter?
No,
Does every class need a getter?
no.
Does every class need one or the other?
Yes.
No,
Thinking about private or for any?
no. Setters and getters are completely optional. We put them there though for access to the variables. So while most programs have them, notice that if I get rid of both of these, this one's a setter, one's a getter, and I save this, right, code's still fine. Remember that setters and getters are a way of thinking, okay? They're conceptual programming, all right? So again, so if like I said on the quiz, like I had you guys use the set ID, okay, or the set name. Doesn't mean there's a get name. Okay, so don't give me anything I don't ask for. And don't even bother asking that question. Do you want us to also, if it's not there, if I don't ask you for it, don't give it to me. Anyone else? All right, guys, well, this is it. All I can tell you is good luck tomorrow. You're gonna need it. And yeah, all right. So take care, guys, and I will see you guys. Are you guys sure there's no more questions? All right, I better see A's from everyone.